on the life of the believer. We said that it should lead him or her to reject the statements and the arguments of those who would describe Allah's laws as being deficient. For him to be holy, the one free from defect, deficiency, weakness, lack of wisdom, backwardness, brutality, these types of attributes are totally unacceptable. So the believer, when he hears these things mentioned, somebody says, as we said before, that polygamy is a backward law. Muslims shouldn't practice it. We say no. Allah prescribed it. It has benefit for society until the last day of this world. We said also the death penalty. We were speaking about that. And we spoke about cutting off the hand of the thief. That there is benefit in it. Benefit which benefits the society as a whole. Sure, for that individual who loses his hands, it is something harmful to him. But the idea of directing an amount of harm to an individual to save the greater society, this is wisdom. This is wisdom. And this is why Allah has prescribed it. Similarly, the issue of female proportions in the inheritance laws. People say today it is unjust. How? You're going to give a woman half of what you give a man when their parents die. Why should that be? Woman is equal to a man. Okay, this is the way that people are now looking at society as a whole. Whereas Islam, the Quran states that the woman gets half that of a male relative, her brother, when they're dividing up. And this is not in all cases, but in specifically son and daughter, in some other cases. But not in each and every case anyway. But even if we take those cases where this takes place, we have to understand that law within the context of Islamic family responsibilities. In a society where people are on their own, a male looks after himself, females look after themselves. The males have no responsibility for females. Then for us to apply such a law would seem unjust. Each person is responsible for himself. So why should the males get double that of the females? Whereas in Islamic society, the male is responsible for the female. So a man is either a father who is responsible for his daughter, a brother is responsible for his sister, a son is responsible for his mother. Every position, a husband is responsible for his wife. Every position in which there is a relationship between a man and a woman, the man is held responsible. That is Islamic law. The man is required to look after his daughter until she gets married and leaves the home. A brother, if parents are dead, a brother is required to look after his sister until she gets married and goes on her own with her husband. A son is required to look after his mother. If the father dies, there's nobody to look after her. Her father is dead. He is responsible to look after his mother fully, completely. So the male always is in a position where he's responsible for a female. As a husband, he must provide and maintain his wife. She doesn't have to work. Her responsibility is to look after the home and the children. His responsibility is to provide a place for her. So, when we look at that division of things, of inheritance within that context, then we can see it's quite reasonable. A portion of the inheritance is divided equally between the son and the daughter. But then an additional portion is given to the son based on the fact that he is responsible for his sister or for his mother, for his daughter, if he has one. Right? So that additional portion is for the additional responsibility. So that law is not unjust. It is perfectly just. It is perfectly fair. It may not be equal, but equal is not always just. Equal can be unjust and unfair in some circumstances. The second effect that belief in Allah's name, Al-Quddoos, should have is that Allah's purity also affirms the truth of all that He informs His creatures. As Allah said in Surah An-Nisa, verse 87, وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حَدِيثًا, whose speech is more truthful than Allah's. Thus, it should serve to remove any doubts that the believer might have in his mind regarding anything which Allah promises, even if what He has promised is beyond his or her comprehension. For example, Allah promises in Surah Ar-Rahman, هَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ, can the reward for good be other than good? One may receive an evil consequence for a good deed and be discouraged from doing further good. So, one questions, where is the good for the good? The fact that we cannot see good doesn't mean it isn't there. Our belief in Allah as being the pure and the holy should give us the confidence in what He has told us. He has promised that the reward for good is good. So even if what we see in front of us appears to be evil, know that there is good behind it. The third effect of this belief in the divine name Al-Quddoos is that it confirms the very purpose of life for the believer. Because the creation of life without purpose would be an act of folly, a senseless act. Creation of life without a purpose. As anything in this world, when somebody does something and has no purpose behind it, we say the person has done a senseless act, a foolish act, something silly. Somebody knocks on your door and you open the door and you ask them, who do you want? They say they don't know. You ask them, why do you knock on my door? Said, you don't know. See, obviously this person has lost it. This is not a sensible person. Person doing acts without reason behind it. So Allah tells us in Surah Al-Mu'minun, أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَأَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Do you think I created you aimlessly and that you will not be returned to me? This is Allah's reminder that there is purpose here and we need to know that purpose and live in accordance with the purpose. Those who fall into the rejection of religion as man-made, they've fallen into this trap. They feel that, yes, there is a God, but all religions, people made them up. Men are interpreting them, so they're, male biased, male chauvinist, or whatever. But they believe in God, but they say we don't believe in religion. But what does that mean? It means then, what is our purpose? Well, everybody has to find his own purpose. Then this is confusion. We are created in this world and Allah didn't tell us the purpose for which we were created. Isn't that something inconceivable? I mean, if we think of having, for example, a factory and we hire workers to come and work in the factory, but we don't tell them what their jobs are in the factory. So they come to the factory and they just aimlessly walk around because they don't know what they're supposed to do there. We'd say that this is mismanagement. This isn't wise. It's silly. The wise manager, he makes sure everybody who comes to work has a job description. He knows exactly what he's supposed to do there, what his purpose is. Allah is beyond all of that. He didn't create His creatures and not inform them what their purpose is here. So, believing in Allah as being Al-Quddoos is believing that He is free from such actions which are aimless. Therefore, there is clear purpose. We need to know it and live in accordance with it. Fourthly, Belief that Allah is perfect and free from any deficiencies should also lead the believer to know that His speech, His laws, His divine decrees are all perfect. So, the believer would strive to see perfection in them. And even if he can't see it or she can't see it, they believe that it is perfect. And that keeps their faith intact. Now, to some degree, this name has been misused. We find the title given to the Quran as the Holy Quran. But this is in fact really an inappropriate description. Instead, what we find in the Quran is that Allah refers to the Quran as Al-Quran Al-Kareem, the noble Quran, or Al-Quran Al-Majid, the glorious Quran, Al-Quran Al-Azim, the magnificent Quran, Quran Aziz, the mighty Quran. These are the descriptions which Allah gave to the Quran, but not Al-Quddoos. He didn't give the term holy to the Quran. So this usage really is inappropriate. And really it is Muslims being affected by the common practice among Christians to call their scripture the Holy Bible. So they, Muslims, not to be outdone, call the Quran the Holy Quran. But it's not really appropriate. But if somebody said to you, what is your holy book? We don't say we don't have a holy book. We say our holy book is the Quran. It is the Quran. But we don't call it the Holy Quran. Also giving the Prophet ﷺ the title, the Holy Prophet. This is also inappropriate. In closing, I'd just like to mention that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ also used the name Al-Quddoos in prayer. And Aisha reported that whenever he was in a position of bowing and prostrating, he used to say, Subuhun Quddusun Rabbul Malaikati wal Ruh, free and pure from defects, Lord of the angels and the Spirit. And when he completed the witr prayer at night, he used to also say, Subhan al-Malik al-Quddus, Subhan al-Malik al-Quddus, Subhan al-Malik al-Quddus. Glory be to the Holy King. So this is the way that the Prophet ﷺ used to pray with this name, Al-Quddoos. And as such, we should strive to do the same. With that, dear viewers, we'd like to thank you for being with us in this segment of our program, In the Names of Allah. And we'll continue in the next segment with the name As-Salam, and we hope, inshallah, that you will be with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When you are weak and the road seems long, remember, just remember, seek strength from the strong.